Yo, what up, YouTube? This is the Trauma Illinois podcast. This is a bonus podcast, impromptu, in the studio. We got cool lights and shit now.
We were in the middle of recording, and we decided, this is a good conversation.
All right.
Actually,
so,
Garrett did.
Yeah, good idea. Do you want to finish the story, or rather restart the story?
Yeah, I guess. So I was just saying, well, you guys were talking about your sister. You were talking about your sister's roommates and how they got COVID for the second time, which is hilarious. I mean, not funny, but they're not going to die, so it's fine. It's gonna be fine.
It's.
Well, I'll laugh about it one day.
It's kind of funny, yeah.
We'll all laugh about it one day.
Oh yeah, I try to laugh about it now.
3 months when we're at their funeral.
It wouldn't be their funeral.
I think it's just
be their grandma's
just
funeral.
one roommate got it. I think.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I've just been texting her today about it. So
Well, I hope
haven't
she's
gotten the full
okay.
details. I think she's fine. Yeah.
Limit the amount of people you're in contact with. It's a good idea. Generally.
Generally.
You wanna
Nah.
fix the drum? Okay, just get the drum sounds in the background.
Yeah.
So I just said that my worst that was probably one of the worst experiences of my life was living with my roommates freshman year. I mean, it was great to be like free of my parents, and I was free of a different sort of anxiety, but then it was just replaced immediately by this extreme male energy psycho anxiety.
19-year-old.
Like,
man.
I walked in and they were not, like, some people are just like off. When you talk to them, they're not like engaged. They don't care really about what you're saying. And it's like some people are good at hiding it. But I have a very good sense for when it's bullshit.
Mhm.
And like that's something that's kept my friends, I think, good. Like I've had good friends because I choose the people who are real and like want to interact with people.
Right.
And then when I meet somebody who doesn't really care about what I'm saying or is not engaged or interested in actually getting to know me, then I just sort of disengage because I don't feel like. But it's impossible to disengage when you're living right next to people. In the same freaking dorm room.
10 feet apart.
And they're all friends. They're all best friends right from the get-go. They're already best friends from high school.
Oh, really?
So I'm like the outsider, and this is their first roommate, and they're like, yeah, we were the first thing they said to me was like, whoa, we were a little bit wary about getting a roommate because our last roommate was our best friend, and he left, and now you're sort of his replacement. And I was like, that's not really why I'm here.
Good
guys.
to be here.
So I was like, great, okay, so I'm just gonna do my thing, and I was taking all chemistry and like math and like fucking science classes, so I couldn't like hang out with them when they wanted me to. They'd be like, oh, Friday night. I'd be like, I have a fuckload of homework, so I can't do that on Friday night. I'm sorry, I mean, this is hard. I don't know what classes you guys are taking, but it's like they never once did homework. That's what I said before. I was like, I've never seen them do homework once. I come in every single day after school, and they're playing video games with each other, screaming, like at the top of their fucking lungs, like screaming, like, it's I'm not gonna do it.
Like how? Huh?
You're like, fucking shit, bro! You gotta fucking get over the fucking thing! And they were like doing call outs, like they were playing like, I don't know, what's that game? It's like Call of Duty, but it's free and it's Apex Legends or something.
Yeah.
Or they were playing that, or no, this was like years ago, so it was probably whatever iteration of that was around. What was it?
It was probably about then. I think Apex Legends
no, it was
came
that
out.
game. It was that game with like the alien. You were like
Destiny?
No, it's like more cartoony, and it's like a really fast-paced first-person shooter, just like
PUBG?
No, but it was in that same vein, and it came out. A bunch of gamers were obsessed with it. The weapons were all like like laser rifles, and you could like grab people from far away with like energy and shit.
Halo?
It was like really fast.
Yeah, right. If you guys know on YouTube,
if I said it, you would immediately no. If I said it, it was more like niche than those.
Oh, okay.
It was more like it was in like a specific corner of gaming. If I fucking said it, you guys would know. Well, whatever.
It's okay. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
They would play shit like that, and they would do like platforming, like strategy games, or like they did this dungeon crawler game that they were like, and the music, I can still hear the fucking music in my head. It's so annoying and like it's like the same catchy like you know, it's like some harmonic minor. It sounds like a medieval thing. It's like a castle theme game. And they would just
Final
get
Fantasy
pissed like they would look at each other with like hatred, like such such anger, and like I just couldn't believe like anybody would get that worked up about a game.
Competition.
Like, yeah, it was
Win.
like
Your fault.
but it seemed like the confusing thing to me was they were screaming at each other, but they would claim they were best friends, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I would die for you, bro," you know, like, and they were all like party, and they were all single. They couldn't get girlfriends for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, none of them could figure out how to like be nice to a girl, and they would come home and just scream at each other all day long and like wonder why I'm not having a girlfriend.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you hear him say stuff like
They
that?
said stuff like we need to get laid, like all that like dumbass. I mean, like, you know, they're young. I'll give it like whatever. Like, okay, you're in college, you can think about stuff like that, I guess. But it's still like it's a waste of time to me, like to worry about that. Like, if you're not getting laid, don't worry about it. If you are getting laid, well, appreciate it. Be thankful.
It's a good way of putting
And hope that it lasts.
Right, right. Yep.
Because like any other, I just, you know, I get consumed by whatever I'm thinking about. So I can't like allow myself to think about certain things. As I've figured out over the years. I have done it with a lot of crazy shit. You know, I've been depressed, I've been all, you know, that stuff, like thinking about the end. And you could get crazy thinking about anything. And I tend to go crazy about everything that I think about. So it's just like, that's why I'm directing it towards like music and physics and like things that are productive and beneficial to other people as well, and like fulfilling.
But every once in a while, you gotta scream
Yeah, of course
at the
you
TV.
gotta. Yeah, you gotta. Well, yeah, I do that too. You gotta let go. You gotta let loose. No, I don't scream. What I do to let loose is I talk to myself, and Belle will catch me talking to myself. Like, she'll be like she'll walk into the bedroom, and I'll be like, like I'll start having a conversation with like I don't know, like if
Me to
It's
me.
so crazy.
It's like the Kermit the Frog memes.
No, anyone else? Well, anyone with ADHD knows that this is a thing. This is what happens. You zone out, and you actually become unaware of whether you're speaking out loud, and that's what happens to me. So I'm just thinking really hard, and and Belle has caught me on videotape when I zone out. You guys know what I'm talking about when I say zone out. Like
Yes.
in the middle of a conversation, I'll just drift, and you just see me like my eyes glaze over. And it's because I'm literally not seeing the room. I'm seeing whatever's in my head. My vision, like, literally starts, like, it's really weird to describe. Because, like, I can respond to things in the room just like I'm awake, right? So if something happens or somebody talks to me, I snap back. But, you know, my eyes do this. She caught me on video. And I've never seen this before. But my eyes, they, like, wiggle back and forth like I'm dreaming. You know, like, they, like, wiggle slowly. And it doesn't look like you're darting. It's just like they're just like slowly like drifting back and forth, and that's what happens to me.
Well, one time I came over to your house, like we were back in high school, and I think we were gonna practice or just hang out or something. And I didn't say anything, and I sat on the couch and started like scrolling through my phone. And you were like showering or taking a shit or something, but you had like a full-on conversation with yourself.
Yeah.
While you were in the bathroom. And
Yeah.
I just let it all happen.
Oh yeah, the shower for
Oh,
sure.
this is-
I totally because
This is
I'm.
interesting.
I don't know what happens with water because I was a swimmer for like 11 years. But I literally, as soon as I get in the water, I feel more myself, more home, more comfortable. Like I get like I'm like a fish, you know.
You're like Percy Jackson.
Okay.
And
I
like when I'm
wonder-
in the shower, I start drifting, and I really talk to myself, like, you know, as if another person was there responding to me.
So you don't say the responses. It's just like
It's just me talking to them,
talking to something else.
and I hear the responses in my head very clearly.
Right. Yeah.
Very
okay.
clearly.
That answers my
And that's the
question.
ADHD like voice. It's something a lot of people don't know.
Like your alter
About-
ego.
Well, now that
Yeah.
you mention it,
Everybody has it to a degree.
some of the people that I know that have ADHD, I know they talk to themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yo, you know,
Schizophrenia, it's actually a thing. Like schizophrenia and ADHD, people with ADHD are more likely to get schizophrenia
really?
because we have any neurological atypicalities usually can lead to further issues if you're not
Well-
medicated or if you or just have a specific genetic tendency to do that. Like some of us will inevitably get dementia when we get old enough.
Right.
Some of us will inevitably get certain things because, it's just like that's the lot that you draw. You gotta live while you're young.
With schizophrenia, how do you get that? Is it hereditary or is
Well,
it
actually, there's a lot of ways. It's a
formed, or-
whole research, thing to figure out like where schizophrenia comes from. It's definitely genetic. It has to do with certain genes. I think they've actually narrowed it down to a set of genes that
Really?
can contribute.
I
Yeah.
thought it was like one of those diseases that was still really ambiguous.
Well, it is because even those they're not a direct correlation.
Yeah, okay. I
But
see.
there
It just
is
looks
definitely a
promising.
correlation. People with these genes are more likely by a certain percentage, by a significant percentage. And not significant enough. And when I say significant, it's not scientifically significant. So you do a statistical analysis and you figure out if it's below a certain, there's like P ratings and like things like that you can use to determine how accurate is a measurement and to what degree is it accurate, so you can do that, and then they found yes, there's certain genes, there's certain traits that you see commonly in parents. There's similar. There's many times, not always. Many times there's similar trauma. There's some kind of trauma when you're young, but people with ADHD are more prone to getting it because we have these voices in our heads, and if you have a genetic tendency towards both, then you're more like if your ADHD activates or it becomes a prominent issue in your life, you're more likely to unlock that other part in your brain that starts really fucking with you, misfiring.
Curious.
I don't think I am at risk for that because nobody in my grandma has paranoia, and that she developed that on her own, so that might that's a history of.
Isn't it generally an older, like a condition that you develop older in your life? Like I know there are some 30-year-olds ish. Isn't it like around 30 or so that you'll start to begin to see symptoms?
Yeah, most people. I think there's like a certain age that most people, because there's early onset and late onset usually with neurological disease, and they're usually caused by different things. Because like if it's later in your life, then you've lasted your whole life without getting it. So that there's different circumstances that have to arise for that to come later versus before. But yeah, like I hear a voice and it's like it sounds. I mean, that's why I think I can like hear music in my head. Like I was born being able to compose. Like I was born instantly being able to like write songs in my head. I have been able to do that ever since I can remember. I cannot remember a time when I didn't have music playing in my head. And I didn't know any music when I was, a baby. So, I mean, they probably did play me some music. So,
Probably.
but I don't remember.
I mean, your
it.
dad's always been into music, so I imagine
That's
even
true.
if they weren't playing the piano or whatever, it
Yeah,
was
Baby
around.
Einstein and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm
What?
sure. Baby Einstein and watching TV and cartoons.
Oh, yeah, right.
Like you
Baby
hear music
Einstein was-
inevitably.
The
It was the
shit.
shit.
Good stuff, yeah.
I watched that even when I was like 10. I was like, man, this shit is fucking.
Yeah,
fire.
we've been going back. Jeeves has facilitated this, but we've been watching shit like iCarly again and like Drake and Josh and like all these shows that we
They're-
watched
they're
in the
hilarious,
late
honestly.
2000s and stuff. And yeah, a lot of them are good, like better than I remember and
Yeah.
stuff. And like,
Well, a lot of
Yeah.
those shows they're written.
cool.
They're written like in a way that the jokes are innocent if you are innocent, so that kids won't ever associate them. But sometimes the jokes are actually pretty like adult, and the kids just don't get it, and they
Right.
think it's funny because of the delivery or whatever.
SpongeBob was great at that.
SpongeBob
Oh my God.
is the perfect
Kings.
example.
yeah,
Yeah, that's a perfect example of that.
killed it.
Yeah,
Originally for adults.
the roommates. Oh yeah, I was gonna say that. Oh, that's me shaking the ground with my
the
lip.
hi-hat.
Yeah, yeah.
It's authentic.
But they got caught like 3 times with weed and booze, twice with cops. They were out.
How?
They were out. That's what I said. How?
In Clifton?
Yeah. So they were in a parking lot both times with the cops, and they were smoking weed, and they had beer out. It's like, yeah, you're in public. You're doing illegal things, and a cop drives by, and he's like, smells like weed. These kids have a bunch of booze. Let's see how old they are.
It's
You
a
know?
pretty normal response, I would say.
Normal response for a
Yeah.
cop. It should be immediately what you think of when somebody says, hey guys, let's go out to the parking lot and open up some beers and smoke some weed.
Could never do that stuff. Always freaking out. We're out like anywhere. Like we go out like in a normal neighborhood at 2 a.m. and then out to the car parked on the street.
We
It's
could
like,
be in the middle
I'm
of a
still freaking
rural
out.
Yeah,
town.
right,
we could be
right.
in the middle of a rural town at the only hotel there, in a parking lot that's completely empty, and still be like looking around our shoulders, like. And it's
Where
like
are
2 in the
they?
morning. You know, it's like 2 in the morning, and nobody's awake, and nobody cares. And
Except that one cop.
yeah, that one.
was pissed
You know,
And
off.
it could happen.
probably
you know?
probably better off that way, I guess.
I think so.
Never had to face any real consequences. Right?
No, dude, you can lose your
That sounds funny in
FAFSA
the
for
context.
literally drug possession. They will
Marijuana,
take
yeah.
away your FAFSA.
Yeah.
Like
No,
you
I
have
mean,
to put on your thing
we
now.
never did.
Yeah, right. No, it is better off that way
Yeah.
because, and that's what I'm saying. Like because
Mhm.
you have to declare on when you apply for student aid if you've ever been convicted of drug possession of any kind, and it like you won't be eligible for the same amount or at all to some degree.
Yeah.
Because it's like its own page. Like they do all these multiple
war on
questions on
drugs.
one page, and they go to another page, and it's just one question that's like, have you ever been convicted of drug possession or distribution of all these drugs?
You guys know how the war on drugs got started?
Well,
Reagan?
Amherst?
No, a lot of, I
Harry-
thought it was Reagan. I thought it was Nixon.
JFK?
I mean, Nixon technically was the one that was like, we're going to do it.
Yes,
But-
he was the largest.
but wasn't
authority
it like
figure behind it? But it
the dude
started
that-
somewhere a long time ago.
The
in
dude with the
30s.
hemp
Wait.
factory?
Hold on.
Or the news.
I'm guessing.
It's not
It
Harry
has to do with
Anslinger.
prohibition. I'll just say that. It has to
Okay.
do with prohibition.
I know the dude's name. It's just escaping me. It's not Harry Anslinger.
Yes, it is.
It is? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Sorry,
Yeah.
I was
Airball.
I didn't listen to you.
Sorry.
That's fucking awesome that you know it. Yes, Harry Anslinger. Do you know the story?
Yeah.
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 That's pretty cool.
They're like,
I do not know. Can you tell me?
He had a
Yeah.
newspaper. So Harry Anslinger had this really successful newspaper organization, and this was right at the same time that a lot of Mexicans were coming up from Mexico to like California and Texas, and they were all starting to farm hemp. They brought hemp up from Mexico, and they were like starting to begin to learn all the insane uses that it has. Like you can make paper, you can make rope, you can make all these various things out of it. And so Harry Anslinger,
Underwear.
like,
You can make underwear.
really?
Of course. It's a
Wow.
it's a material.
Hemp
Yeah,
buttons?
right.
It's a
So
you can turn it into a textile.
yeah, I guess it makes sense. Shit. So he started this campaign with his newspaper because he used like regular paper, traditional paper,
Mm-hmm.
and he started this campaign basically to make people racist against Mexicans by saying they smoke this dope plant that makes them stupid, and if you do it, you're gonna be stupid and you'll be just like them, like working these terrible
Yep.
jobs and doing all this stuff.
This
And
is kind of
so-
ringing
And
a
they're
bell.
like, people have been
Yeah,
doing this for
yeah.
thousands of years.
Right,
And
right,
he's like, fuck you dirty Mexicans.
right. So he like started this whole thing and got the government on board to like begin,
Yeah.
like prohibiting.
He was insane. People thought he
marijuana.
was insane. Like his racist friends were like, dude, you got to tone down the racism. You can't treat people like this. Like they tried to oust him from his seat. He was like on some council
Mhm.
for he was in charge of prohibition. That was like his big start in politics.
Gotcha.
Was he was put in charge of the Department of Prohibition, right? Or some I think it was the Department of Prohibition. They made a department out of it, and they made prohibition, and obviously all the poor people started going to jail and being targeted because they needed alcohol more than the rest of the people because poor people tend to use alcohol more often. And so then they realized, oh, this is a terrible idea, and we're losing a lot of money and productivity by putting all these people in jail. So
You
they
end up
released
lifting
all the
crime.
people after like 10 years or whatever of prohibition, which is crazy. I don't know if it lasted that long. Was it 6 or 7?
Something like that. Yeah, it was like a little less than 10.
Yeah.
Definitely
Hope
before
it
the end
wasn't
of
more
the
than
20s.
10, man.
Fuck.
That would be a terrible time.
Do you think if we had never
in.
done prohibition that like cartels wouldn't exist? Because like I feel like some people get inspired by the
somewhat.
stories of
They
Al
at least
Capone.
wouldn't? They would exist, but they wouldn't be
You know?
nearly as powerful.
Sure, yeah. But like if we had never done that, like, and we had never,
The war on
we had
drugs
never forced the
generates
idea.
more money for drug dealers than any other
Right.
organization. The war on drugs, the
Yeah,
U.S.
I don't
government.
think so. I think there's always been organized crime, and there probably
Yeah.
always would have been anyway.
But in North America,
Yeah, even still,
Okay.
it would have made its way. If
Eh.
not- I mean, it was already here.
Yeah.
what?
Organized crime.
Not until Prohibition.
No.
Yeah, there
Yeah,
was.
it was. What are you
yeah,
talking about?
there
It
were
was there from
gangs
the
and
beginning.
shit, and like
It was there from. There were
But
New
revolts.
York.
gangs, but
Yeah.
not organized crime.
Yeah, well, there were organized militias and groups that did illegal things to make money so they could fight against the U.S. government. I mean, there like before we were founded as a country, we were already divided up into republics that self-governed, right? So there were already places and people coming here. I mean, there were people coming here from all over the world. There's going to be some criminals. Like
Right.
and they're going to be some smart criminals, and they're going to organize, and they're going to figure out a way to make money. I mean, there are people that smuggled sugar in, I mean, pirates were organized crime.
Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
I mean, pirates were a
Right.
form
it's
of
more
organized
like
crime.
I guess like the look of it, and
I see what you're saying.
as time went by, it got more
like they weren't
organized
wearing
and,
suits,
Yeah.
But
right.
there was
Yeah,
still-
I get it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I forgot about, like, pirates and sugar and all that. Yeah, because that's, like, so old. That was so old.
But not only that, people would do that in a much more low key way. They would fake ledgers and fake the amount of shipments that were coming in, and just take them and put them in their wagon and take them home and distribute them amongst their clients. And they would, and people would do shady shit like that. I mean, that was how people got rich. I mean, how else are you gonna get rich if you're poor and you have nothing? You have to start thinking outside the box and maybe
Yeah.
not working within the law. I mean, that still happens today. People, they figure out ways that are kind of, I mean, like selling mortgages should be kind of illegal in some, not all mortgages, but like certain kinds of mortgages, like subprime mortgages, and all that stuff, like should be illegal. And it kind of is, but it's still like you can report it on your W-2 and like make, $8,000 a month sometimes. And not usually that much, but you can.
I mean, that's
Some
not like a
people do.
shit ton of money.
I know, but I'm just saying, like,
Not
it's good money if you're
less.
really
Yeah, right.
poor.
If you're single and young, yeah, it's a lot of
right,
money.
yeah. Or, I mean, yeah, exactly.
$8,000.
96K.
So,
a year.
yeah, you could do, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but like if you're married and have
Just-
like your wife doesn't
No,
work, and you
I
have
mean
3
now,
kids,
like right now.
Yeah.
yeah,
Right,
right.
like-
If you're single and young, that's pretty baller.
Yeah,
You
it's
could buy
pretty
like
baller
a
living.
sick Les Paul.
You can do it now.
family.
You
could
could do
buy
it
a
as a
Tesla.
21
I
year
could
old
buy
or
a
whatever.
Tesla.
And a sick Les Paul. You could do both in the
Oh
same
my
year,
God,
bud.
stop.
That's not necessarily what you want to do with your investment.
A Les
Why
Paul and
not?
a Tesla? Are you out of your mind?
Well, okay, a Les Paul I understand, but a Tesla is like a really big investment. You might want to invest in like other things that are going to maybe appreciate in value.
Like
first.
GameStop?
Yeah.
GameStop. I don't know. Maybe Tesla would be a good move. Depends on how much you travel and how much money you spend on gas.
I don't really travel
I
that
don't really
much, and I
travel,
also hate driving.
Unless we either go like 5 miles or 500 miles. So like
So you got to think you're going to be spending $35,000 or whatever it is, $40,000 on this thing, which means you're going to be out $40,000. And if you already have a car, and it already works, and you don't spend $40,000 on it a year, then you're going to be losing money on the Tesla. You understand?
yeah, I get it, but it's
You-
really cool.
Yeah, well,
Come
yeah.
on, man.
Yeah, it's just cool. It's a Tesla.
Look, if I just like if
But
I
like you could like maybe your retirement. You could start a retirement fund.
I'll do that next year after the Tesla.
Okay, all right.
Having
I'll
a
pay-
Tesla like pays for conversations.
Whatever. Never mind.
I'll pay the
Like,
20
hey man,
grand
nice
on the
Tesla.
Tesla.
Thank you. And then bam, you got a new friend. That's
Yeah.
priceless.
Because your sick new ride.
Yeah,
my
Tesla
sick
new
wheels.
whip.
Tesla has a
Nothing attracts
void
good
ticket.
friends and people like
Money.
possessions.
yeah, the people that are really gonna stick by you when you get canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll really love you when you get a Tesla.
Hell yeah.
That's Louis C.K. said. You know what's great about becoming an internationally renowned weirdo is that you learn who your real friends are, and he's like, that sucks. You don't want to ever learn who your real friends are. Your real friends are never the ones who you want to be your real friends. It's so funny.
Can he
Louis.
go places now?
I mean, he has a special out. He tours, and he does.
I know he's like touring. I mean, like, can he go to the mall and shit and like not get harassed? I know he can go to places if his own fans are showing up, but like,
I mean, like whatever he did, like he didn't commit a crime, so, and he's the funniest fucking person alive. So I'm gonna listen to his comedy and laugh at his comedy.
yeah.
But I don't have to like think he's a great guy just to enjoy the work that he does.
I agree.
Axl Rose is an asshole,
yeah,
but I
you're
love
cutting
Guns N'
your,
Roses.
what are you gonna
Right,
do,
right,
cut
right.
yourself off from all the fucking assholes that have created amazing things over the years? No, I mean everybody who creates something great is a little bit of a dick. You
Right.
kind of have to be. I mean, there's a few that aren't.
They're always
There's a
yeah,
few
but
that
right.
aren't.
But like a lot of the times, the really, really innovative and like genre bending and the like world changing people are always like either a little crazy or a little shitty or a little this or that. You know, like a little too depressed. You
Well,
know what I mean?
because
There's, like
all those
something
things, all those qualities. Oh, I don't have a.
That's probably just people
Going
in
on.
general. Sorry,
Do you
I'm
have a
out.
thing?
No.
Oh.
you know, you can kind of trace it, and it seems like some kind of consistency between really, really like hyper successful people and some kind of thing that you wouldn't necessarily find with your average Joe.
Your
Some
ability to
personality
handle any
trait.
situation depends on the level of difficulty of the situations before. So if you're the type of person that gets
Right.
yourself into extremely difficult situations all the time, you're going to face and overcome or not overcome extreme adversity. You know, anyone that overcomes extreme adversity is going to be able to unlock certain potentials that I think unless you do those things or unless you at least put yourself out and like take risks, you're never going to learn, you know, how to like navigate in like that really huge like world. Like, you know, like it's easy when you just have a few friends or and you're not like you don't have responsibility over like large amounts of people. But like if you're gonna do a great thing, then you're gonna like actually profit from it, you know, and actually like develop yourself and your career and your money and all that stuff. You can't like I just zoned out. What was I talking about?
So that was it?
I'm just kidding. No, I lost my train of thought for a second. Oh yeah, you have to
I think
you have
I
to
saw
go through
your
extremely
eyes doing
difficult
this
things.
a little bit.
Yeah, you have to do extremely difficult things, you know, and you have to like if you're gonna do an extremely difficult thing, you have to do them before that.
Mhm.
You know, you
Right.
can't just do it from nothing. You have to practice,
Mhm.
and so like all those traits that you said, like you know, are considered bad in a world where everything is small. But if you want to go into a world where everything is huge and overwhelming, then you kind of have to be overwhelming.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Mhm.
And like you kind of have to not allow your like preconceived notions of what a person should act like or be like necessary. That's the thing. That's the line because like then you go just commit crimes willy-nilly if you're rich enough or successful enough. And you can do great things in crime. Because it's like if you don't restrict yourself a little bit, then you become this criminally insane person or somebody who's like way on the outskirts of society. But if you don't push yourself enough, then you're not going to be able to like take those large steps, you know, in life. So it's like, yeah, it's scary. It's hard to balance. It's fun though.
Yeah.
It's fun to try.
Yeah.
You can take baby steps. I mean, we live in America. It's the easiest time ever.
Yeah, I was listening to Joe Rogan talk to Justin Wren yesterday.
Who's that?
Justin Wren, I don't know if you remember, for a long time, Joe had the sponsor. He was doing these things for this charity called Fight for the Forgotten, which Justin Wren used to be a fighter, and he started, after he retired or, I don't know, quit or whatever happened, he started building wells in the Congo for the pygmies, the pygmy people that live there.
Awful nice.
It's so yeah. Well, when you're listening to him talk about like the experiences that these people go through, like they were so excited because Justin and his people like went out to dig latrines, just holes in the ground for them to shit into. So they didn't have to stop. So they didn't have to keep shitting behind trees. Like it's just like the craziest stuff.
Wow.
That, like we give our dogs clean water, and they're excited that they get to shit in a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're so privileged. We have so many nice things, and just totally forget that, like, the rest of the world is not America.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that
Culturally,
the
you know, I don't mean
whole-
individually, but, like, as a general society, it's like,
You know, that stems from the whole
It's
like
wild.
Eurocentric, the scientific revolution coming from Europe. Like Europeans got this idea that they were like now the the holders of technology or like the holders of the future because they had this incredible system that was better than any other system to make money and to like
When was this?
the scientific revolution. It was like the time when Galileo was alive up to
Okay.
like 1400s to the 1600s,
Mhm.
and there was this. So Europe before that was just plunged in war, and
Yeah.
it was destruction and sadness and disease and like
Was
death for
el-
everybody.
Wasn't 11 to 13 the Dark Ages? 1100 to 1300.
Yeah,
Isn't
it's
it,
right
like,
around
generally
1,000,
dark?
right
Give or
around
take,
1,000,
yeah.
Yeah.
right?
It's like a lot of kingdoms and
1,000
shit.
to
and, like,
1250,
Yeah.
1300.
What a time to have been alive.
woo.
And the reason it's the Dark Ages is because there was so much war that nobody even bothered to write anything down because they were just like,
Yeah, everything was lost.
we have to, we can't even
time.
afford.
Oh,
we can't
yeah,
afford to
right.
write anything because we're being chased out of our castles. People didn't write things unless they lived in these stable communities of like within castle walls, or I mean, there was always within castle walls. All the great philosophers, all the the writers and the priests and all those people were protected by the state, the lords that in the regions that they lived in, and they were paid, and they were and so once those regions started breaking down and just going to war nonstop, then they would sack each other and destroy everything and kill people and ruin it, and so they couldn't afford to like sit down and let's transcribe this account of today's earnings, because there were no earnings because everything was burned, and that just happened for like 300 years.
I've seen Braveheart.
And that just happened for like 300 years, and like there was no money left, and people were desperate to find some better way to do things, and that's right around the time when these great scientists happen to have been born, and that's also so like Galileo and Copernicus or not Copernicus. Idiot. Is it Copernicus? Yeah, he was around, right?
Sure. I have no idea.
I always get him confused with like, I don't think Copernicus is Greek. I think he's European. So yeah, like I don't know. I couldn't name them. I could name them if you gave me like some time, but I don't want to think of them. But yeah, Newton. I mean, Isaac Newton, Brahe, Tycho
Was that around
Brahe,
then, really?
Tycho Brahe. But he was 1500s. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah.
Shit.
and they were all like
That was a
they all
long
like
time
knew about
ago.
each other because they were fairly contemporary. I mean, not all of them were like lived at the same time as each other, but they all knew about each other because there was this revolution happening. There was this like the small. What happened was somebody invented. Well, Brussels, or was it Brussels or Belgium, or one of the countries figured out how to make glass, like lenses, like precise enough glass to make lenses, which magnify light evenly and perfectly, right, symmetrically. And you have to have a really perfectly symmetric lens in order to magnify or shrink, do a microscope or a telescope, right? And they figured out glass working just by chance, And everybody's poor, everybody's fraught with war and scared that China's going to come in and destroy them, scared that the Ottoman Empire is going to come in and
China?
destroy them.
But they're all across the mountains.
Um,
How are they gonna get there?
Silk Road.
yeah, what do you mean? There was trade. Like
Yeah, but
at one
trade is
point,
different than mobilizing an
At
army.
one point, Italy was right up against the Asian the Asian front. I think it was the Ottoman Empire.
Oh,
Italy was
yeah.
right there, and that
Okay.
was the border. And literally, there were people in Italy, in Venice, like looking over the fucking thing and like seeing these new people come and settle the city, and they have all this armor and like war chariots and shit, and they were like, and they were terrified. You can
This
read
is it.
accounts. I read accounts of people that lived at that time and like governors and things, and they were like, "We are done if we don't do something. We're gonna die. We're all gonna die. And all of Europe is gonna be lost." And that's what the state of the world was in. And then Galileo discovered he invented he didn't invent the telescope. He actually was the first person to point a telescope at the sky. That's his credit.
Oh, okay.
So he went, huh.
right.
Instead of like, because it was for ships,
Oh,
and they actually likely had the technology before that, but it was secret. They think that it was secret. Yeah, so it wasn't like Galileo discovered the lens. It didn't happen it happened a little bit before Galileo, where they figured out lenses and how to magnify things with them. But it was like secret. It was a secret. It was basically a government secret telescopes, so they could spot ships farther away. And so they kept it secret for like a few decades, and then it got out, and scientists started using it, and that was also like about 100 years later, I think, was when they decided to look at small things, magnify and use microscopes, and that's when we discovered that everything is made up of cells and
Fucking cool.
thing. And so like all these huge discoveries. So he points the telescope at the sky, starts to plot the motion of the planets, and he figures it out to some degree. He was a little bit wrong about some things, but he showed and proved that you could predict the motion of the planets using the laws of gravity that we all have. So he tested gravity. He figured out that no matter how massive the object, it will fall at the same rate, because gravity is constant in a small area. Like, if you go really far away from the Earth, then it's less.
Right.
But as long as you're all on the same distance from the center of the planet, then the gravity is going to pull you down at the same rate. So if you got a vacuum chamber and you dropped a feather and a bowling ball, they would fall at the exact same rate, and they do when you do the experiment. So he figured this out, but I think it was Galileo that figured out that things fall at the same rate no matter what. And so then he figured out that there must be a law of gravity that involves some constant, which is later Newton figured out it was the gravitational constant, and then he actually made successful laws of physics that you could use in things.
You want to hear something kind of it's like scarily. You know who got the Mayans were like a decimal point away from the current accepted year. Like a full calendar year, they were like 0.1 or 0.2.
The Mayans didn't learn it from
days
themselves.
away.
The Mayans got it from a precursor culture that had active astronomy. They discovered.
Jesus, even more impressive, man.
Yeah.
Ancient
Holy
aliens.
fuck.
No, it's not aliens.
It was aliens.
Because
Definitely
the
aliens.
tools
For
that
sure
they
aliens.
used, the tools that they used were made with rock. I mean, why would they? If aliens, if we had any evidence,
They didn't leave the laser guns there. They took them with them.
And they
but
force-fed us mushrooms, and then
But if they wanted us to have better technology, they could have just given us like a piece of titanium and taught us how to make it, and then it would have been like, we have skyscrapers.
Never said they were nice.
But why would they only help us a little bit and not just like it doesn't make sense?
Because this whole thing is like a science
But it
experiment.
makes
We're
more
just
sense
rats in a
that
maze.
just really intelligent humans were really curious and they wanted to figure out how the skies worked.
No, yeah, no, I'm just joking.
And they just were like, huh. And and they just like worked out the math because they basically stared at the problem long enough. I mean, probably they had a whole culture. We don't know this, but they probably had like hundreds of years of looking at stars and like mapping stars and figuring out how those things work. And then eventually, if you were a person who's extremely intelligent, maybe more intelligent than all the people before you, and you're looking at all this data over hundreds of years, you're going to start seeing patterns probably, if you're really passionate about it and it's your job. There's going to be some Einstein of ancient, South America that figures out like, oh, these are the rules that it's dictated by, and we can predict exactly when this is going to happen. And, they probably didn't know about gravity. You don't really need to know about gravity or the Earth spinning or, being a globe in order to figure out what stars you're going to see on a certain day.
right.
You can do all those calculations if you figure out how they change over time. What's amazing is I don't think they had like a system of numbers. So I don't know how they did that.
They had a system of numbers.
But like ours where they're
It's base 20. It's not base 10 like ours.
Oh, they did have a system.
Yeah, I had
That's
to learn it
fucking
for my
cool.
math class.
That's fucking cool.
It's like vertical. It's designed in a vertical way, and it's like it starts with ones, and then it's 20s, and then it's 360s. Like it all works through. It's like it's developed through the same system they used to create the calendar. It's
That's
all
cool.
it's all connected in a very similar
It's all
way.
connected.
They're the ones who cut people's heads off and pushed them down the pyramids, right?
No.
Yep.
Or was that the
Mayans?
I think those
Aztecs?
are the Aztecs. I believe that was the Aztecs.
No, the Mayans did it too.
Really?
They would play sports with people's heads.
Really?
Yeah, they played that.
Absolutely, they
It
sacrificed
was like
children.
the first kind of soccer game, but it was way harder.
Yeah, they sacrificed children. This is the thing about history is it's very morally ambiguous. There's no patterns of like what people think is right or wrong.
Yeah.
It's all different all over the world.
Well, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I would expect.
Yeah, it was the Mayans. They did have a game that involved heads and soccer.
Have you seen the game where it's like soccer, but the goals are on the side of a wall and they're circles?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So you gotta like
That's
get
right.
it up with your hip into the.
Cool.
It's like super hard.
It's fucking sick.
Oh yeah, the roommates would also play that soccer game. Whatever. What is it called? What do you,
I don't remember.
with the cars you drive around, you knock a soccer.
Oh,
ball.
Rocket League.
Rocket League.
Oh,
Yeah.
Rocket
I
League.
love Rocket League.
Oh, who your roommates?
Yeah.
Full circle. I guess that means it's almost time to wrap it up then.
I was just about to ask. We're about at that time.
Yeah.
If we want to get this little guitar part in.
All right, that sounds good. I really
Fucking
like
sick.
that idea.
We doing snowed in?
Yeah.
All right.
It's just a little thing, right? It's not like a big.
Yeah, it's literally like 10 seconds.
It's just the beginning. Yeah, cool. Thank you all.
All right, love you
Yeah,
guys.
cool,
Thank
yeah,
you
yeah. Much
for
love.
watching.
Listen to Snowed In when it comes out.
Mhm.
Yeah, gonna have a lot of songs coming out soon.
We're not super snowed in anymore, but it's still out there, lurking.
Peace.
It is.